Hello and welcome to this special edition of Fireside Chat. I'm thrilled to have today with me George, who is the VP of Engineering at Mockingbird. George is not just an esteemed engineering leader, but he is also a valued customer of Mindbowser. Today's Fireside Chat will try to deep dive into getting insights from him as to how to build cross-cultural engineering teams which are high performing, and also we'll see and get to know more from him as to how Mindbowser has helped and been a valuable partner for Mockingbird. Let's get started. So, George, why don't we start maybe with you introducing yourself in terms of what role you play at Mockingbird?
All right. Yes, as you'd already mentioned, VP of Engineering at Mocingbird, uh, which is a healthcare tech company helping clinicians maintain and uh, stay on top of their licenses with the many restrictions and requirements required by them in the United States.
Great. And as I said in the introduction, Mindbowser working with Mockingbird over the last few years. So, would you like to share some insights about the projects we have worked on and how is that it has been so far?
Yeah, so we have, of course, the Mockingbird platform, as I sort of already described, as a way for clinicians to um, stay on top of their license requirements for renewals. And much of this dev team has been spending quite a bit of their time on that project. I mean, they are the execution behind such a project. It's a Ruby on Rails application. We've got an Angular front end and a React Native mobile app.
Great, great, great. And according to you, what has been the most significant outcome of this partnership from your perspective?
Well, I just don't think we'd be where we are without them. It's a team of highly dedicated, highly talented individuals, and it's a pleasure working with them day to day. I work very closely with each one of them, and even just being here this week, getting to for the first time, in 3 years, having been on this project, finally getting to see them in person, and it really has been a pleasure.
That's good to know. Of course, like I think for any organization, especially into IT services, these are the words everyone craves to hear from at least their esteemed customers. If you want to throw some light around what from this partnership, what are the few aspects you want to highlight which worked well for you?
Oh, sure. So Mindbowser hasn't given us kind of a faceless, nameless group of developers. Uh, I mentioned we have a group of highly talented um, engineers working on this project, each one well taken care of by Mindbowser, which we highly appreciate. It's not enough for us to have uh, a subcontractor providing us this talent who doesn't also take care of their employees, and we have to worry about retention, career growth, individual career ambitions, and Mindbowser really does take care of these employees and make sure that they're looking out for them through this partnership, because it's you know through that shared success that we continue with such a successful partnership.
So, would you recommend Mindbuzzer to any other companies, and if so, why?
Oh yeah, so really, Mindbowser hasn't skipped a beat or missed a moment to kind of work with Mockingbird's needs for execution. The needs within engineering, ebb and flow, and Mindbowser's always worked with us to come up with creative solutions, whether with staffing, with resources, you name it. Mindbowser's been there to kind of help us, you know, regardless of the issue. So I think you and I, we meet monthly at the
Yeah,
very least. We can always
right.
meet separately, but um, I never feel like there's a communication gap. You're always very well of what my team is working on, issues they may be facing, uh, and sometimes you're even more familiar with it because you're here with them.
Yeah.
And I really do appreciate that. So it's Mindbowser really does take care of their people, and we see that. My team is very happy, uh, and I think that makes for a better output from the group as
Right,
well.
right. So, from the chair of a VP of engineering, what factors do you consider while and think of while building high-performing engineering teams?
So a few things come to mind. It's of course competence. They need to know how to do the job they're here to do, like such as write code. But that's not the only thing they bring to the table. It's engineering knowledge, problem solving, and just ownership. So we need people that can do more than just write code. We need people to own the problem that they're solving, and that's what I want to look for in a team of individuals. And not everyone has to share the same strengths or have a strength to the same extent as others, and where one's weakness could be someone else's strength. So you look for balance in your teams, because they are different people, different personalities, different skills. Um, but one thing that also stands out is just the willingness to learn, willingness to make mistakes,
Right.
but you learn from them,
Correct.
uh, because software is messy. It's chaos out there. Come the time you want to go home, that's when the problems arise.
True.
And even last night,
Yeah.
the team was, all crowding around the same desk, trying to knock out an issue together. Um, there was no finger pointing. It was a full team
Right.
engaged on trying to solve that problem together. And it's that teaming aspect that is also important. That the project is more than you as an individual playing your role as a individual contributor to that effort, because you're one of a group, and together you'll make something larger.
And like I think one another aspect, at least in the recent time, post COVID, that has happened is engineering teams are then spread out throughout the world, right? And then as a like one who leads these teams, one important aspect that come into picture is these are like I would say that cross-cultural teams, right? So, are there any specific strategies you have in place or you have implemented into ensuring that even though these are cross-cultural teams, they still are high performing?
Yeah, I think cross cultural, we do notice differences. Not to say they're good or bad; they're just
Okay.
differences between the cultures that are involved on the project. And I think one thing that the U.S. team wasn't even very familiar with a while back was even the India team, quite distributed
Right.
across the country. Not everyone was located in Pune.
Correct.
So even just understanding that they themselves, like this team, was also remote from each other. So
Correct.
um, just trying to offer instances where the team could communicate, could interact, has been helpful, and making sure that we take that time just to talk. Because sometimes it's not just about doing the work that progresses the work. Sometimes it's just interacting and building relationships, um, having calls that aren't about trying to solve the problem, but just to hang out, talk, get to
Right.
know each other, and again, focusing on building those relationships, where we take one-on-one seriously to truly know the team as individuals, who they are by themselves, more so than just their role again on the project itself.
So, George, are there any specific things you have done because you have distributed teams? Any specific events or something you do like for the team, and that also brings in Mockingbird's leadership team into it?
Yes. Shortly after I started, we introduced the concept of engineering celebrations, which is really just an excuse to get together with the team, review what we had done. We were trying to do it quarterly, but it was to mention um, the milestones that we hit, maybe in where we were falling behind a bit. I mean, just an opportunity to kind of come together and discuss status, achievements, um, and use the meeting just as a kind of a teaming exercise, just to get everyone in the same call, effectively in the same virtual room. Uh, in a few of those meetings, we played games, which can be difficult remote and
Right.
virtually, and trying to find games that work with the number of people, um, and in that manner. But we would also take that as an opportunity to get other people from Mockingbird, like other management, whether it's from the executive team or the CEO himself, Ian Madam,
Yeah.
to come and speak to the team. The engineers on this project are very focused on the day-to-day execution, cranking out new features,
Correct.
and without being deliberate and putting a pause on that to take everyone away from their
Right.
computers and the work, they'll keep on working. Um, so we want to take that break and also get visibility within the company, get recognition, and give them the opportunity to speak to other management and leadership. Found that important. Now, following a reorg, we kind of shifted to bi-weekly meetings,
Mm-hmm.
and that's been helpful. It brings the team together even more often, and even the quarterly meetings was sometimes a little bit more, just as scheduling happens. But now that we're doing bi-weekly meetings, as great as that is, it's become a bit more status, and I want to go back to the engineering celebration. So if anything, this test of different meetings helps reinforce the need for those deliberate celebrations.
Got it, got it. And are there any specific tools you use? I mean, of course, like Zoom, Google Meet are there for the regular meetings, but any specific tools you use for this engineering celebration?
We tried things like Kumo Space, which is kind of an interesting virtual space where you can kind of move around, and conversations kind of can be limited to a certain geography of the application, given where your avatar was, as best we could do, and without real offices.
True.
And we also try some like online games, and I can't even begin to remember all the ones we played,
Yeah.
but there were some online games we would try, but it's difficult. And I think one was a trivia contest we did, and it was unfortunately about a lot of U.S. things, and it was actually Ratnadeep who answered most of the questions correct, to our surprise.
It's true. So, like when it comes to onboarding, again, this might be a new question, just coming out of this conversation. When you try to onboard a new member on the team, I think again this might be related to cross culture or anything, but onboarding a new team member to the team also come with its own challenges. Is whether they really fit into the vibe of the team, I would say, and how do you ensure that they are the good fit for the team?
Right. So Mindbowser has great candidates, and when we bring people on the team, usually there's very little risk to it working out. I mean, we get good people, but in that onboarding, it gets tough, and we want to make sure people are given that margin to do their best. And if we don't take that time to do onboarding correctly, it sets somebody up for failure, and we try to avoid that because we want to set somebody else up for success as much as we possibly can. And we give quite a bit of margin for that onboarding time frame, because you're not going to be effective when you start. You got to learn the product, you got to learn the people, the processes. There's a lot to it. I mean, stepping into a whole new thing, it's a challenge, and it can be overwhelming. So we want to make sure we give people a good margin for when they start. But it does give us an opportunity to check in over the period of time. So we don't expect somebody to be highly effective within 2 weeks or even a month of starting. It takes time, maybe even months, depending on the role. So bringing somebody in, making sure that they get the overview and access to all the information necessary to make sure they're not getting assigned too much to start, because again, we don't want to set them up for failure.
Correct.
And we check in and we follow up, and we go from there.
Maybe another question that might come from engineering leaders is, even though you take care of all of these things, there might be a chance, 1% at least, that the person is still a misfit. So, I mean, what do you do in such cases? Because it's a misfit, that eventually we won't be able to work together for whatever reasons it is.
So we try to be transparent, and we do have a process with Mindbowser, and you and I will easily connect on the status of new hires and how the onboarding is going. So we're very much in sync with all these details. I mean, I try not to ever surprise you. We're always in communication,
right?
And you're always there, kind of helping me even strategize, like, how should we approach this? Are we doing something wrong with our onboarding that we could be doing differently? But as the case is, sometimes people don't work out, and Mindbowser has always been very helpful in making sure that we take the necessary steps forward to remedy that. And we do try to make sure the individuals are taken care of. Again, whether it's on Mocingbird or some other project, we want these individuals to be taken care of. And Mindbowser does just that. So it does reinforce that Mindbowser looks after its people, as well as its projects that its clients are using them for.
Okay, great. So what advice you might give to the other VPs of engineering or engineering leaders if they are to build cross-cultural teams, engineering teams?
Sure. Look into the cultural differences. You may not really know the extent to the differences, and you may not pick up on all the subtleties. So do your research, but also embrace it. I mean, just because there are differences does not mean that'll work against you. Embrace it, learn how to work around it, use it to your advantage. And I know that does speak general, but it's how you approach that difference in that situation in general. Um, and even on this team, it's worth mentioning. Probably one of the interesting things to call out is they don't bring up issues or concerns. They politely bring up doubts,
Right.
which is a comment I get from my U.S. counterparts.
Right.
That it's a politeness that we have to work around.
Mhm.
To get them to say no has been an issue, an interesting issue,
Right.
because the team will do just about anything you throw their way, even when it's not to their advantage. So
Mhm.
almost trying to get them to say no, and learning when to push back on cultural differences.
Got it.
It's a bit of give and take.
Yeah. But is it just coming with doubts, not issues? But is it a good thing or a bad thing from you as an engineering leader standpoint?
I suppose it's highly contextual as to what it
What it
is
is?
about, of course. But I want them to advocate for themselves. If they see something wrong, I want them to say it. I mean, they know the product better than most. They're building it. They're living the frustrations, and if they need something fixed, I want them to speak up about it, to not just live with it, not just to accept it, because they're willing to take on any challenge and accept less than acceptable circumstances, and they deserve better. And as I said, they should advocate for themselves.
Correct. Great, great. So, now that you're in our Pune office, and the best you visited probably at the best time of the year, which is the Ganpati festival, and you also saw the Ganpati Visarjan processions and so on. How has been your experience with that, and along with that, the Indian food?
It's been fantastic. I don't know what I was really expecting this week. First time in Asia, let alone India. And I was looking forward to the food, have not been disappointed. The hospitality of everyone has just kind of blown me away. Was not expecting this. It's been very comfortable here, safe city, easy to get it around. Um, my biggest regret, just not coming sooner. So now I might have to find ways to come here more often. And it's just been an absolute joy to see this team in person, working alongside of them in the collab room. So it's just been an absolute joy. And I hope to come back and see them here again soon. But everyone has just taken the opportunity to welcome me, make me feel comfortable here, and make me feel appreciated for coming out this way. But um, I'm just trying to find ways to show my appreciation to the team who's been working so hard on this project.
So, is there any or if I have to ask you this, what message would you like to share with the other potential customers of Mindbowser?
I don't know who they may be evaluating for alternatives, but our partnership with Mindbowser has been very valued. If anything, for how much of our success they care about, because our success is their success, and Mindbowser has always been there to support our needs, whatever they might be. And um, the Mockingbird strategy, the Mockingbird roadmap, it really is in part made by Mindbowser, and we couldn't do it without Mindbowser support. And again, it's not enough just to be a staffing agency.
Right.
Mindbowser values its employees and make sure that they're growing, that they're challenged, and that they want to stick around, because at Mockingbird we really do care about retention. Um, if Mindbowser was unable to keep our engineers at their company and we were losing them, we'd probably be looking elsewhere. But
Right.
the retention rate on Mockingbird's projects is quite surprising. I think exceeds expectations that I would have.
So, thank you so much, George, for joining
Thank
us
you.
today. And any parting thoughts you have?
No, just thank you for this opportunity. Again, the generosity here and the hospitality here at Mindbowser, and it's just unexpected, highly appreciated, and look forward to coming back.
And we look forward to seeing you every year,
Thank you.
or maybe sooner than that. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.